Welcome back for this week's live stream interactive S3VT session. For session 7 this week, we're going to be working on wall bag training. Now, we had a bit of a break there, had a bit of a technical connection issue last week, and I couldn't connect in the studio with the router. Everything seems to be working fine. Fingers crossed that the signal does not drop this week, and we'll be able to get through this hour, not a problem. Okay, so as stated, session 7 for this week, we're going to be working on the wall bag. Now, this is still going to tie in everything that we've done for the previous 6 sessions with footwork, with punching, coordination, and hand actions. Moving forward, next week will be our first partner and drill class. So we'll talk more about that towards the end of the class. But right now, it's about continuing to work and develop the punch, in particular with a training apparatus that is not exclusive to, but most prominent in Wing Chun. That is the wall bag. As you can see, I have my wall bag strung up and hanging off of my dummy. This is a preferred choice. Why do I prefer this choice? Because the dummy is a little bit live and it has a little bit of play. Now, you can't see the angle of my dummy right now, but the dummy is actually quite tight. I chopped the tracks down, so the resistance is a little more firm. You can see it doesn't really have a lot of bounce and spring to it. You need to have some significant power and coordination and structure to be able to interact and move this dummy. So again, personal preference, designed this way to give myself a little bit more structural and practice resistance, because a lot of people are resistant and big in North America and around the world these days. So having that extra bit of resistance does help with one's training in fortifying your structure, balance, and coordination. The same thing applies to the bag. Now, with the wall bag, having it strung up on the dummy, giving me a little bit more live feedback and play. On a wall, on a dead wall, you get dead weight, dead energy. Equally good. They both have their value. The key is not where you have it hung up, but how it is working for you. Not only are we going to talk about the concepts and ideas behind training the wall bag and what it is, what goals we are looking to pursue, train, and develop, but also the benefits of the wall bag, as well as a variety of drills that can be played on it, all of which we've already done in our footwork training, being able to see that and translate that to the wall bag, and then be able to go back to independent footwork, and then ultimately next week in our class, which is going to be combat and fighting applications of a lot of the actions we've done with our footwork and hand actions. Even though we haven't gone too deep into the hand actions yet, next week we will be going into it and breaking them down a little bit more, but actually getting them working so that you can, with whoever your bubble practitioners and training partners are, you'll be able to get some training in. Okay? Popularly and traditionally, the wall bag has been filled with mung beans, which are a very dense and small bean, or gravel. When I was learning under my sifu at our school, the bags were filled with sand. The bags were so dense and so heavy that you literally had to kind of mold your fist in it first before you start hitting it, because you would do a ton of damage. My wall bag has been filled with rice. It has been filled with rice at the bottom that has been there for about 17, 18 years, which is ultimately flour. It is very, very dense and very, very hard, and I always refill it a little bit more as you keep pounding the rice and it becomes to flour. Personally, I find rice best. It has the perfect balance of density and play. And once you start really hitting it and getting into a routine, it really starts to get solid. So you actually build up into the resistance of the wall bag rather than fighting the wall bag. Let's remind ourselves that everything that we're doing in our training is supposed to benefit us. You know, we want to train hard, but also train smart. We no longer live in a day where we have to destroy our bodies to be able to make the advancements necessary to be able to get the benefits of training and develop the skills that we want from our training. If we do damage, we only delay our learning curve by breaking up our training sessions. To that point, that's why you see me wearing gloves. These gloves are gym gloves or weightlifting gloves, made by Harbinger with leather knuckles. They only go to the wrist with a very superficial Velcro wristband for security. There's really no wrist support. That is up to you. By using the leather knuckled gloves, when I hit, I am still fortifying my tissue, meaning my skin, without destroying my skin bare knuckled. Because I want to punch tomorrow. I want to punch the next day. I want to punch the day after that. So by wearing the gloves, it affords us the opportunity to continue to punch. If you're a part of that mind that wants to punch as hard as you can and tear up your knuckles, go for it. Just remember, if you tear up your knuckles today, that means you're not going to be punching the wall bag for a minimum 8 to 10 days. So you're breaking up your training and the benefits of wall bag interaction. In my class, everybody does 1,000 rep punches. We have a training routine with the punches on the bag, which we have listed right here against the wall. You can't see, that's going to stay in-house. You'll have to visit us here at S3VT or come train with us full-time to be able to share in that training regimen. But we're going to break some training exercises down for you to be able to help benefit you and add to your own routine personally. Okay. Also noticing the height that I have the wall bag at. The height that I have the wall bag at, if I sit at my yijikimyama, right, is right at my heart level. Now, why do we want it at heart or collarbone level? We want it within this range here. Anywhere from your collarbone at the highest to between your heart. Now, the reason we want to do that is if the bag is set too high, we start punching upwards. Now the shoulder is starting to do a lot of work. We don't want that. Remember, everything that we're doing is about activating our elbow power and making sure that we're using the complement of gravity to punch straight forward. Driving the elbow forward. Now we're just going to call back a little bit some of the constructs and concepts of delivering the punch. Always remember, elbow behind the wrist, hip behind the elbow. We don't need to squeeze the elbows in super tight. We play that in Siudam to establish range of motion of line of attack, of Tansao, develop Latsao Jikchong, as well as develop the elasticity and range of motion within our ligaments, tendons, and muscles for the structures of Tansao, as well as Fuksao. When we're playing the punch, it's a little bit more relaxed, okay? We don't want to be squeezing in because now we're activating the deltoid and the bicep tendon, which is now constricting our range of motion. If you just kind of keep your elbow halfway between your center and hip, but no further outside than your hip, you're going to get the punch that you need. Reminding ourselves that once we've played the first punch, we drop it one fist height to clear enough room for the fist in waiting, which is right behind, to be able to go straight forward. Knuckles always pointing forward with the wrist slightly bent. Now the wrist slightly bent means that the metacarpals, which are the bones in the hand behind the fingers, okay, are pointing straight at it. So you can see here, by angle of my arm, I created a triangle with my arm. My knuckles are pointing forward. If our knuckles are parallel, and our metacarpals, which are the bones of the hands, once again, parallel to the forearm, then you can see the punch goes to the side. We've covered this before in a previous class. Wherever the fingers are pointing is where the hand follows. When you close the fingers, it's wherever the knuckles are pointing, which is where the arm follows. You hear the difference? Wherever the fingers are pointing is where the hand follows. Wherever the knuckles are pointing is where the arm follows. We always want to drive and source from our elbow, activating the network that is applying the elbow power, developing the elbow power. The triceps, the lats, the obliques, the deltoids, which are the shoulder muscles, and the trapezius, which are these muscles here, are activating as stabilizers. So we have to recognize once again and address what is the source of our power, what is offering support and stabilization. Our source network are the triceps, because remember, tricep muscles drive and project. Bicep muscles pull and withdraw. We're not activating the bicep. The lats, which are the wings of the body, are also help supporting the tricep and drive forward. The obliques and the core, our yuma, our core, is now activating, as well as the lumbar muscles at the base of the spine, which when we create our yichikinyama, we remove the curvature of the spine to make sure that our spine is going straight. Therefore, establishing our tripod of a stance. Even though our spine doesn't touch the ground, by nature of having our spine straight, it is still piling force that is coming in and going down. Okay? Now that we've established that, now we're going to establish the range of motion that we want to be able to be engaging our wall bag with. I just also want to mention as well, all of the things that we are working here on this stable structure, which is a wall bag, can also be applied to the unstable structure, which is a heavy or hanging bag, or a hanging punching bag. The difference being stable structure, unstable structure, because a punching or hanging bag or heavy bag is cylindrical and swinging. So that will add a different element of resistance as well as feedback of control of our direction of force, which we will cover later as we continue to evolve this session. Okay? Establishing our appropriate range of motion. We don't want to be too close. Although we are looking to have that great Goldilocks zone where we feel maximum power and connection with our punch, let's remind ourselves again that the key to developing power in our punch is using the whole of our body. The punch is just the final point of delivery, but is the whole of the body delivering it. As such, if we are comfortable in the short range, then what we are trying to do is expand our practice. Let's make sure we have a little bit more range in our punch. Now you can see it looks like I'm a little bit long here. In fact, I'm at the maximum range of motion for my punch to be able to be delivered. We also want to develop what is known as long bridge power. In Wing Chun, we call this Chun Q, like long bridge power. We know we can punch from short, but if we can only punch from short and connect from here, then we've also limited our range of motion and engagement to be able to interact and control as well as recover from both our training partners and ultimately our opponent. So we know that if we can practice from a longer range punch, clearly a shorter range punch is no problem. Okay? We don't want to be rabbit punching. We want to exercise our full range of motion. You see, I still have a slight bend to my elbow. It's not as obvious as it is here, or as we would see it in the Siunum Tao, but how can we make this measurement? If you establish your Yita Kinyama, okay, if you can touch the wall bag with your palm, that's your range of motion, just like that. If you're at Jingzheng and you still see, I still have my bent elbow, very, very slight, that is a really good range to practice your maximum range of motion of punch, and of course, it will develop your full range of motion with your punch. Secondly, remembering, we are keeping our knuckles facing forward. I'd already mentioned this regards to wherever your knuckles are pointing is where your arm follows. But I also mean the vertical face of the punch. We don't want our punch going like this and sweeping down. Even with gloves, if you are hammer fisting, you are now glancing, and you will, with gloves, tear your knuckles apart. Tearing your knuckles apart is the least of your worries because this is actually a bad habit. We want to be able to drive forward, 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 forward. If you have a wall bag where you are, you're welcome to join and continue to train along with me. If not, of course, these replay recordings will also be uploaded, edited down for content, so you can train them on your own time. I also want to preface it, if you do not have a wall bag at home, there are many different alternatives that you can use. A simple alternative is buying yourself a 5 or 10 kilogram bag of rice at your local grocery store. Don't buy expensive rice, just buy some garbage rice. It usually comes in a burlap sack. I would encourage you to fortify that sack again. If you could put it in something leather or put it in something that has a more heavy-duty casing, because what's going to happen with rice, remember, they may seem like soft little grains, but imagine thousands of them. Every time you hit it, the edges of them will start to tear the casing of the rice bag and eventually will start to spill out. Previously, we used to have some canvas bags with the leather face in here. We were going through those bags once every 2 months. Now, the reason why I say this, if you remember what I said this in my class, everybody who comes into the class does 1,000 punches every class. Our wall bags, I kid you not, can see anywhere between 60 to 100,000 punches a week when we were at full class. Think about that. It's a lot of punches, because not only we do our 1,000, okay, always we do a 5-minute free spar with footwork, which some of those drills we're going to be showing you today. So it's punch, punch, punch all the time, and this gets great abuse. This is the best wall bag I've ever used, I've ever seen. We've had it for 3 years now, not one single issue. Beautifully well made. I will put a link to the person who manufactured it. He's a really cool guy. His name is Nenad in Bulgaria. Quality bag, highly recommend. Get one of your own. Put whatever you want inside, but again, still fortified, because I have a secondary bag in here where the rice is, just to make sure, even though this is tough as nails, that it doesn't tear through. Okay? Getting back to the wall bag. Let's talk about the concepts that we are trying to develop with our wall bag. Popularly, a lot of people believe that the wall bag is for developing the tissue, strengthening the skin and bones in particular, developing a stronger punch, and developing more power. Well, the reality is those are actually byproducts of what we are training if we train the wall bag well. Now, why are they byproducts? What the wall bag is actually providing us is a resource to develop immediate structural connection and feedback to our punch so that we can feel, as we discuss in every class we have already discussed today, that we are looking to develop our punch as a whole body action. Okay? We've already established the construct, elbow behind the wrist, hip behind the elbow, stance beneath us, and we're going to start off first in a Yita Kimya Ma. The reason why we're starting off in a Yita Kimya Ma is because we are actually antagonizing our stance and balance a little bit more, because we are actually not just square facing Chu Yin with our body, but we are square facing with our feet as well. So we don't have a root or base leg to offer that feedback support as we do in a S3Ma. We don't have the root and base leg in the back here or the front leg to claim position. This can, if your balance is incorrect, push you back. But we also want to be mindful not to lean forward. We'll talk about that a little bit more just in a minute. I want to finish up with the concepts of what we're actually training with the wall bag. First of all, I want to introduce Newton's first law. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Therefore, the energy that you put into your punch comes back at you with a wall bag, whether it's on a springier surface like my wooden dummy is, or if you have it on a wall. Needless to say, the energy you give is the energy you get back. And if my energy is weak, it's going to push me back. If my stance is weak, it's going to push me back because I'm obligated to absorb that. Or if we're overcompensating, we'll find ourselves leaning forward to trick ourselves to think that we have balance and coordination. This is not the case. This is where now we need to tone down a little bit and connect with ourselves internally, and as well be objectively aware of what we are doing. If our structure is correct and in line, when we do punch, we should feel all of the energy that we are delivering our punch with channel from the ground through our core and through the elbow, but in turn traveling straight back through the elbow, down into the core, and into the stance. In some other traditional Chinese arts, such as Tai Chi, but even in Wing Chun, we call this recycling energy. The energy you give is the energy you get back, but you are managing that energy through your body. Borrowing energy, Jie-Lik. We can use Jie-Lik, borrowing force to take advantage of someone coming in, but it's also to borrow force through feedback of structure to fortify our structure to the ground. Secondly, you will know if you are hitting with your elbow and body, or if you're hitting your hand, because the wall bag not only gives you energy feedback, but it also gives you audio feedback. That audio feedback is tone. The higher the tone, the more you are using your wrist and your knuckles. The lower the tone, the more you're using your elbow and your body. For example, if I am just using my wrist and knuckles, you'll hear a higher tone. Versus if I use my elbow and my body, it's a deeper tone. Keeping stance the whole time. Remember to be independently balanced. When we work with an apparatus such as a wooden dummy, a pole, or a training partner, we must maintain independent balance. We should not be looking for balance. We should not be looking for whatever is happening externally to balance for us. Maintain independent balance. Commit to your structure. There are 5 aspects to our 5 building blocks to our Wing Chun. Structure, angle. Angle comes in 2 parts. Angle of structure as well as angle of engagement. Distance, timing, and energy. Good development of those 5 base elements give us control and balance. If we have control and balance, then we have power. When we're punching the wall bag, in order to achieve power through control and balance of maintenance of our structure, angle, distance, timing, and energy, we must, first of all, just isolate our structure and feel ourselves, first in our Yita Kimya Ma. Relax. Sit. Breathe. There's no rush. The beauty of the wall bag is it works on your time, at your pace. It is ready whenever you are, and it is not going to demand on you that you have to catch up to it or that it's offering a standard that you have to rise up to. It works on your time. Take advantage of it. Feeling our stance and being relaxed. Now, let's get our elbows in front of us. I would also recommend always stretching before you do any of these exercises so that you maintain good muscle, tendon, and ligament health. Okay? I've already done a stretch before we started this class, so I'm good to go. Now, establishing our range. Are we too far? Am I straight elbow? If I'm straight elbow, what's going to happen? You're going to feel all the pressure go from the wrist to the elbow and into the shoulder, and it will push you back. Because now, it's just a straight post. Remember, I'm right at my maximum range of motion with my punch here, which means I can touch with a flat palm. That is perfect for me. Okay? We don't want to punch too close, just reminding that again, because now we're rabbit punching and developing only short range habits, where ultimately we're also developing the reflex reaction when we come in contact with a surface or a person to want to be very close all the time. We should have a full range of engagement and interaction. Okay? Now that we've established that, we've talked about in previous class in punching how to develop the punch. When this hand has been spent, it makes enough room with a fist height for the next hand to come straight forward. This one immediately coming back. Now with wall bag training, there are two ways to do this. The first is to maintain a closed fist so that you can just keep good fundamental practice so that you can practice having your knuckles always facing forward. And you can also practice by making sure the chambered hand becomes a wusao. Okay? Lastly, the energy. What kind of energy do we put into it? Start off with moderate energy. Moderate. Reinforcing that, what we are trying to do is reinforce our structure and the management of our structure and the management of the energy that we give back and the feedback coming in so that we are comfortable with it. This is so very, very key. There's no need to overpower yourself. We can build up to that. You can even do that within your routine. We can do that in intervals. Start off in a nice connected way, and this is something we actually do in our class as part of our wall bag training routine. One of the sections is do a bunch at a nice comfortable pace and then heavy. And then a little bit quicker. There are different ways and paces to be able to train the wall bag. There's not just one exercise to do it. The fundamental mechanics, actions, structures, and concepts are consistent, but they can be expanded upon. Okay? Good. Secondly, just adding on, I made several points, so this is not a secondly one. When punching, drive your elbow to the target. We want to drive our elbow to the target. Yes, it is our knuckles that are making contact, but it is the elbow that is doing the punching. Therefore, in your mind's eye, in your visualization, but also in your determination, try to drive your elbow to the target. Not your hand, your elbow. Elbow, 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 elbow. Last piece. We talked about this in the previous class. Now we're going to talk about it a little bit more. Because in all the previous lessons that we've done, we've made the hand shapes and we've made the hand actions, but for the most part they've stayed elastic, relaxed, not tense. I mentioned in previous classes that will be saved for when we do wall bag training and interactive partner training. What we call this now is fortifying and securing your punch. What that means is learning to keep a nice relaxed shape of the punch, and then upon connection is when you secure it. You secure the wrist, you stabilize the elbow, and you secure the fist. Remember the example I offered in learning how to punch or how to figure out how to develop a relaxed punch last class? I said stick your other hand out with your thumb up, reach out and grab it. That same grabbing, I'm going to use this hand so you can see it from here as well. That same grabbing here, you're doing the same thing as this comes forward. Just keep a nice loose shape of the punch, and as you make connection, stabilize and fortify it. Everything stabilizes upon impact. This is another aspect of timing of the punch. Because what we want to do in Wing Chun is we want to economize our energy. Part of the economy of energy, as well as economy of motion, is not to be in a tense or constricted state. If you're in a tense and constricted state all the time, you're actually tightening up our body, therefore diminishing our ability to maintain a higher standard of sustained performance, which we call fitness. In this case, fighting fitness, not just fitness, fighting fitness, so that we can engage for longer periods of time to train the byproduct of strength and conditioning as well. Remember, we talked about that being a byproduct. Strength and conditioning is the byproduct. There's the benefits of doing wall bag training properly, not your principal focus. They are byproducts. Very, very key to reinforce that. So we stabilize the punch. Stabilize. Stabilize. If you stabilize it now with the whole of your body, now with the rest of your body, we're not stabilizing because you should already be stable. But also the rest of the body should not be locking up. Remember with your Ita Kimimata, always feel your heels connected to the ground. If your heels are connected to the ground, that means your pelvis and your core is connected to the ground, which means your spine is going into the ground as well. Right? So stabilize. 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 Very key. Those are all the concepts and structural elements that we need to put into the punch. Now, let's get into doing some work with the punch. Okay? I'd already mentioned, and I'm going to mention it again because this is something that we enjoy doing, and we have a few students who, well, one in particular that really aspires to making sure that they are the first one on the bag, which is incredible. This is testament to how much we enjoy training the bag, because how much we see it complements everything we do. To our Paksao exercise, to even our Chi Sao and Lap Sao, because it all benefits all of those exercises and drills in developing what we are trying to develop in our Wing Chun. A strong punch, strong elbow power, strong structural elbow network power connection, all the way from the ground up, all the way from your hand back, all the way. Very key. As we start punching, let's get into our stance. Even if you don't have a wall bag with you, okay, that's all right. You can still punch along with and stabilize your punch in the air. Okay? Remember, we don't want to be tense. We just want to be stable. So I'm going to disconnect from the bag a little bit so that when you're punching here, you're going to see me stabilize my punch a little bit more. Now you see how my hand is elastic. Once I've played it, it kind of seems to bounce, where some people will perceive it as a snap. In fact, it is not a snap. What it is the moment you start to stabilize your punch, the ligaments and tendons, in particularly the tendon, goes back into that secure rest position, which is that elbow down position. Okay, if we relax it, it just wants to continue to go forward. Now we actually want to find a balance between those two. That stable connection, as well as the elasticity. I mentioned already that when we punch, we want to visualize, but also be convicted in our practice to driving our elbow to the center of the wall bag. Yes, we are making contact with the hand, but it's the elbow. But in driving our elbow, we also want to release our energy. We don't want to snap it. We are not looking to hit the surface, but I want to be careful in saying it because popularly in many martial arts they say punch through the target. In Wing Chun, we step through the target to punch through the target. We don't release the hand to punch through the target. We step through the target. So what we want to do is release our elbow energy, our body's structural and mechanical energy through the target. Release it. Just release. What does that mean? It's not just about not striking the surface. It's just about setting the energy free. Now this does take some time to understand and connect with yourself, but as you continue to punch in, which is why it's important to punch the wall bag as much as you can, I would recommend at least a minimum 3 times a week. If you could do this every other day, you'll notice a significance in your overall Wing Chun performance, fitness, and structural connectivity and mechanics management. Within 2 weeks, you'll notice huge strides. And if you continue to keep it up, you'll notice out of nowhere, your balance, control, and coordination has a rate of consistency that just kind of creeps up very suddenly. And you'll kind of catch yourself saying, wow, yeah, I made some good improvements. That's really cool. Wall bag training. Release the energy. Just let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. If I strike the surface, you'll notice the difference in the tone. It's higher. Higher. It's a higher tone. Release it. Keeping your eyes up, be focused on center line. But also, focus on everything that's in front of you. Take peripheral stock of everything that's happening. Don't look down. Learn to trust your hands. You'll be able to see through your peripheral vision where you're striking. But the moment you look down, what happens is now you tip your structure forward. You see, now I've broken my spine and I'm starting to tip forward a little bit. This small movement in my posture can lead to bad overall habit of leaning forward and looking down like this. And now also my shoulders are taking over. Relax. Sit. Okay? We're going to do 100 punches together right now. I'm going to ask you to do them with me. The first phase of 100 punches is just connected. Not a lot of power, but just enough power to stabilize our punch, connect with ourselves, connect with the wall bag, and manage the feedback that is coming through, starting from a Yi Zi Kim Young Ma stance, our basic Wing Chun stance. Okay? And we're going to do this at tempo. Another thing I want to mention as well, in doing this at tempo, what also the wall bag is doing, another property that is developing for us, is equal and balanced application and delivery of action, mechanics, power, and structure of both arms. So that we no longer think right hand dominant or left hand dominant, or my right hand is stronger, my left hand is stronger. It should no longer matter anymore. In Wing Chun, we look to eliminate left and right, because Wing Chun teaches us to be ambidextrous, to have equal resources to pull from both halves of our body, from all 4 limbs equally, without favor. Okay? So we're going to do 100 together. If you want to do them in the air and just stabilize them, that's fine. Try to maintain the same pace that I'm going to be doing. And like I said, it's just going to be a nice, connected pace, nothing heavy yet. All right? Let's start with the left. Just like we do in Siu Dong Tao, starting with the left hand. Let's always start on the wall bag with left hand. And we won't play with the Wu Sao. We're just going to start with maintaining our punch configuration. All right? Starting with the left. And then count. I'm just going to count it through. Normally just count it in my head. But I'm also going to be revealing how I count to 100 without making it seem complicated. Because you find when you get into the 20s, 30s, 40s, saying 21, 22, 23, 24 can be a little bit busy on the tongue and on the brain. So I will reveal how I do the counting, and you'll find it much easier. Okay? So starting, let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sorry, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 50. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 60. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 70. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 80. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 90. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 100. Now you find just from doing the 100, right off the bat, you're starting to feel a little bit of an awakening of your structure, your core, as well as the muscle networks that are actually supporting and delivering the punch, correct? This is why it's important not just to do 100, but also why it's equally important not just to do 100 as heavy and as hard as you can. Remember, we want to have sustained performance. We want to develop that internal connection with our structure and the network activation of our body. If we only train our wall bag punching tight and heavy, then we will always be tight and we will always be slow and heavy. Relax. Work the structure, the mechanics, and the connectivity and networking of what's within them to make your punch work, and then you can build up to heavier. I mentioned again already, and we'll mention again about how we do 1,000 punches per class. It's at that 100 mark where we start to feel the body awaken a little bit, which is why it's important to sustain it. Take your time. There's no rush. I gave you a really good average pace to be able to play your punches. And as you improve, you'll notice that your rate of frequency will also go up. Rate of frequency meaning how many punches you do per minute. For example, if right now your standard is 60 to 70 punches per minute, aspire to bring that up in 3 or 4 days to 70 to 80, and then 80 to 90, 90 to 100. Okay? The pace that I'm at and some of my senior students at, we're at about 100 punches for 20 seconds. To 25 seconds. We do about 300 punches per minute. To give you an example of how we're punching, you can see that there's a good balance of elasticity as well as power. Again, this is an example that you want to be building toward, not trying to start off with right now. Okay? Just again, an example to build toward, not where you should be starting now. And the way to build to that is what I'm going to introduce right after this example, and I will go back to this example again. Okay? This is how we practice it at our pace. This is my pace as well. So you can see it's a good pace, gets the heart rate up, gets your blood pressure up. It's going to challenge you aerobically as well. Now, I know I didn't do 100, just wanted to give the example. But you can see there's a high rate of frequency, I'm relaxed, I'm loose, I'm able to drive my structure, action, and the mechanics behind it. Stable body, good balance, with some power. Not huge power. There's a time and a place for that. It's part of our routine as well that we do in here. But right now I'm just going to talk about next, that second half to be able to get to that. Now having a little bit of heavier power. Oftentimes we find ourselves, when thinking about investing in heavier power, right away, hyper-stimulating our anxiety, that we must be tense, that we must be in a higher state of neurological or mental activation. Remember, we want to be calm, always. It just means when we are looking to develop and deliver more power, that we are refining, and we have refined our structure, the angles that we are playing within our structure, our distance management, our timing, and our energy. That we have become more in touch with ourselves, with our practice, to be able to more accurately drive our full body as a striking and engaging action to that one point, where it's not wild, it's not going off to the side, it's not going up or down, it's not glancing like a hammer fist, it's not glancing off to the side like this. That it is always straight. Always straight. To develop that power, now we're going to slow it down a little bit more. Because what we want to do now is really spring release our punch. What does that mean to spring release the punch? Let's start off with a fist already connected. What we want to do is minimize the amount of time that there isn't a fist present in contact with the wall bag. For example, here's just kind of a basic or fundamental way to practice that we were talking about before, just for structure and connectivity. You can see there's a little bit of a delay time. I'm going to deliver my punch at the same rate of acceleration and speed, but I'm going to increase my rate of frequency by reducing the amount of time that there isn't a hand connected. Watch. Same speed, but I'm just making sure that right away, once there's an opportunity for this hand to go through, it right away springs in. Once this hand has an opportunity to come through, it springs in. Once this hand has an opportunity to come through, it springs in. Now, what we are also introducing in that practice, by introducing more power. Remember, not strength, not force. Power. Power is the sum total of our balancing control, because we have developed good structure, angle, distance, timing, and energy into what we are doing, is we are now introducing and practicing Lat Sao Jik Chong. Lat Sao Jik Chong should always be present in your practice. The moment there's a free opening or line of attack, our next hand should spring forward without hesitation. So you see, we've introduced several different ways and several different concepts into practicing our wall bag. A reminder once again, fitness, strength, conditioning become byproducts if you're training everything that we've introduced so far well. Okay? Lat Sao Jik Chong. Right away, without hesitation, without any loss of space and position. Again, independently balanced, not leaning forward, not being pushed back. You can also hear that the punches are heavier. Side note, notice that when I'm punching, I'm not allowing the wall bag to pop my hand back. I'm maintaining the connection, because we're feeling the feedback and the energy traveling through our structure and into our body. We want to stabilize that elbow. Okay? So, we can practice light for rapid fire. So now here are 3 methods. I'm going to introduce the last one. We talked about good structure and mechanics. Focusing on springiness for Lat Sao Jik Chong, which gives us a little bit more power and delivery because we've increased our rate of frequency with minimum loss of space and position. And now we can practice in a relaxed, elastic way so that we can learn to be controlled when interfered upon with feedback, and so that we can learn to change our hands quickly when engaging with something that is giving us resistance and feedback, whether it's bridge to bridge or knuckle to knuckle. Okay? And this is just a simple one. We've already done the first 2 aspects of the training, so this is just a lighter version of the 2 combined. Just doing this. Now we are managing our structure, our mechanics, our action, and our Lat Sao Jik Chong in a nice relaxed way. As you improve and you find that there is a rate of consistency with your performance and your punch, now you can really start elevating the rate of frequency. Some call it speed. It is not speed. It is increasing your rate of frequency, increasing the amount of punches per minute that you can deliver. Okay? Now you can have a little bit more challenge with it, but I would always encourage that you try to do your highest rate of frequency and try to count in your head so that you can always have new personal bests every time, and try to beat them until you've reached a high level of performance where you want to maintain that personal best as a standard. Okay? Now you can increase that rate of frequency and have a little bit more fun or pace to it. Make sense? Good. So now that we've done that from our Yita Kimiyama and established that basic foundation, now we can add footwork to our training. We're going to recall a lot of the hand actions that we've been doing from the footwork classes we did previously over the previous weeks. The first one will be counter punch, 1, 2, so lead rear, 1, 2, Wusawa is always up. Second one, tan da, tan, and now we have 4 punch finish, 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 3 will be gan da, gan sao, gan, 1, 2, 3, 4. The last one, we can add a kick. We talked about this during the kicking class about being able to use a wall for feedback. Well, we have the wooden dummy here, and if this is hanging on your wall, you can use a wall as well. Kick, tan, 1, 2, 3, 4, or kick, punch, 2, 3, 4. Let's do that together. Now that we are employing our S3Ma, the feedback and energy that we are deriving is going to be a little bit different. Because when we're in Yita Kimiyama, we have a technically wider base by standing with Chuying in our stance, and of course always with our hips, core, and shoulder. We maintain Chuying when playing the S3Ma. We don't want to find ourselves when stepping, turning. It's not like a boxing jab where we are reaching in. Let's remind ourselves again, in Wing Chun, the quality of our actions comes from the quality of our footwork. Our footwork bridges the gap. Our footwork is what helps drive the punch to manage the whole of the body to be that resource of punching. Okay? So keep your Chuying, keep your square facing. Start off light and relax. We're going to do the 1-2 punch, lead rear combo, lead rear counter punch. Okay? Starting off with a guard, or you can start off with a closed fist. It doesn't matter. Nice and slow. As the front foot lands, so does the front punch. As the back foot lands, then does the back punch. Well, I'm going to make the sound with my feet and exaggerate it so you can hear the timing. You should hear my feet and punches landing at the same time. One more time. My Wusawa up right away. Again. Again. Good. Now I'm going to eliminate the feet just so that you can see the coordination. Okay? Other side. Okay? Sitting the whole time. So now we have counter punch drill. Lead rear, 1, 2. 1, 2. Wusawa's up. Next one, tan da, 4 punch finish. Here we're going to start with our guard. Okay, making sure that we're at least 1 step distance back so that we are practicing stepping and bridging the gap. Okay, start with our guard. We're going to go left hand. We're right now in an orthodox position, which means we are left leg forward, right leg back. Okay, start with the guard. Tan da. Tan, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to feel as you're punching now in a S3Ma stance, now with 4 punches, even with the 1-2 counter punch, how it is you're managing that feedback and how it's challenging your balance and coordination a little bit more. Okay? Again, tan da, 4 punch finish. Tan, 1, 2, 3, 4. Step back. Tan, 1, 2, 3, 4. Step back. Tan, 1, 2, 3, 4. Step back. Tan, 1, 2, 3, 4. Switching side. Ta da, tan, 1, 2, 3, 4. Stepping back. Ta da. Stepping back. Stepping back. Step back. Ta da. As you improve, again, you start to feel more confident with your coordination, your balance, your control, your overall structural management, the mechanics behind it. Then you can increase your rate of frequency. You can increase the energy. You can increase your output to challenge yourself a little bit more. Building up to that point where you can free spar with the bag a little bit. We're not going to look at the free sparring too much today. Just want to give you all of the elements that you need to maximize your wall bag training and expand from there. Okay, so just to offer a little bit more of a rate of frequency. Okay. There it is. Okay, nice and relaxed. Energetic at the same time. Next, Ganda, Gansao, covering our lower gate. Gansao is a Tansao shape, so it coordinates with our front leg. Nice and relaxed. Ganda, 4-punch finish. Gan, 1, 2, 3, 4. Step, Ganda, 1, 2, 3, 4. Step back, Ganda, 1, 2, 3, 4. Step back, Ganda, 1, 2, 3, 4. Step back, Ganda, 1, 2, 3, 4. Reset to the other side. Southpaw position, right leg forward, left leg back. Ganda. Step back. Step back. Step back again, Ganda. Step back again, Ganda. Good. Next one. Kicking. Now we have to give ourselves a little bit more space, or you can stand a little bit closer to a more of a short range kick. Again, just like our punches, our kicks also have a range of motion of application, not just at one distance only. They can be played from here, and they can be played from here. Shorter or longer. In this case, I would recommend medium, so that you're not finding yourself stretching the kick and stretching to your punch. We want to make sure that we reconnect to the ground right away. We never want our kicks to be lingering in the air for far too long. Okay? Starting off in orthodox, so it means we're going to be delivering a left kick first from our lead leg, which is also our left foot. Starting off here, okay? Kick, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, set, 1, 2, 3, 4. 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 Switch legs. Set. 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 Good. That's 4. One more drill. Next one, kick and tanda. Why tanda? Not necessarily because you would land and play the tanda per se, but just developing the good habit of making sure that we have both hands engaged all the time. Not just falling back into old conventions of only one hand and one punch at the same time. Also because in fighting, we are learning to train our danga as a bridging action. It is a long-range action and weapon to bridge the space. If we step into the space to engage the opponent, we end up in the control range. That control range is the medium range, where we apply and employ Lin Xiu Dai Da actions, simultaneous control and attack. Tan Cao, Gan Cao, Pak Da, Chat Da, Lap Cao. Okay? Just getting both hands active, both hands engaged. So, sitting in your Sat.Mar, kick, tan, 1, 2, 3, 4. Step back, kick, tan, 1, 2, 3, 4. Step back, kick, tan, 1, 2, 4. Step back, kick, tan, 1, 2, 3, 4. Step back, kick, tan, 1, 2, 4. Switch legs, kick, tan, 1, 2, sorry, missed the tan there, my bad. Kick, tan, 1, 2, 3, 4. Step back, kick, tan, 1, 2. Step back, kick, tan, 1, 2. Step back again, back, one more time, kick, and 1, 2, 3, pull. You should really feel an elevated heart rate. You should feel yourself being challenged physically, especially if you find yourself doing 500 to 1,000 punches on the wall bag and they're doing a series of those drills afterwards. What I would recommend is do each one of those little footwork drills 10 times per side, 3 times each, so that you're doing 3 sets or 3 cycles of each set of drills, which you're doing 10 times per side. We did a demonstration today, 5 times per side, only because of restrictions of time. If I did 10, we'd still be on the first drill. And we're coming up to the end of the class. So I just want to make sure that we were able to impart and share the value of the wall bag with you so you can add to your training and be able to translate the stable element of the wall bag training to the unstable element of a hanging bag. And again, continue to expand and develop your punching power, your structural power, your overall mechanics, and ability to develop a higher skill, control, and obviously, like I just said, power with your overall Wing Chun. So that it's simple, direct, efficient, practical, but dynamic. Very, very key. Practical is our priority. Dynamic is high skill. All right?